So Kartel, you as a very influential artist in Jamaica, how do you feel to know that society have you as one of the main violence producers in Jamaica?
Society at large always seem to try to lay the blame for social unrest in Jamaica and the artists and the musicians.
Blessed people, blessed, welcome back. So today people, we're going to talk a bit about the Privy Council ruling that was made in the vybz Kartel and its co-accused case. The Privy Council made their judgment on the 14th of March 2024 and the ruling was basically made in favor of Kartel and his co-accused. So for a lot of persons who may not know what the Privy Council is, the Privy Council is the highest court of appeal for Jamaica. If a person gets convicted of a crime, you know what I mean, and they feel that they have been treated unfairly and they know that they are not guilty of that offense, what that person can do, that person can appeal to the courts in Jamaica. And if the court in Jamaica did not rule in that person's favor and the person still feel like they are being treated unfairly, then the person can take their appeal to the Privy Council. The Privy Council is the final court of appeal for Jamaica and some other countries in the Caribbean. So the recommendations that are made by the Privy Council is normally what the local court system will work based on. You understand, people? Because the Privy Council is basically a neutral court system, and I mean people on neutral grounds will listen and just go based on the evidence that is presented to them, and they will also be looking for any breach, you know what I mean, wherever any protocol was breached, you know, if a procedure was not followed to the T. You get me? So that's what the Privy Council basically is. The Privy Council quashed the life sentence that vybz Kartel and his co-accused were facing. This simply means that the sentence is no longer valid. So as it stands now, vybz Kartel and his co-accused are no longer on a life sentence. Basically meaning that they are innocent again until proven guilty. You get me, I say, people? But this does not mean that they will just walk free like that. It is now in the hands of the Jamaican court system to check on the evidence that they have and determine if they have enough to do a retrial. You get me, as people? So it is still possible for there to be a retrial. And you know, if there's a retrial, the possibilities are that the persons can be found guilty again based on the evidence. So the fact that the sentence was quashed does not mean that it is over and done with. You understand, people? But what can happen is that the fact that this might take some time, and I mean for the courts in Jamaica to make a decision as to the way forward, what can happen is that they might release vybz Kartel and his co-accused and bond. You get to master, people? Yeah, so basically they might get bail pending the outcome of what the Jamaican court system will decide. The reason for the Privy Council making this judgment is simply because of juror misconduct. You understand, people? The fact that a particular member of the jury allegedly take money, you know what I mean, and was trying to bribe, and to have to restart that trial again, what I mean, another long time, you know what I mean, and it costs people money to do all of them things. And that is basically the reason why the sentence was quashed. Yes, so I say, people, the jury was not credible based on the fact that a person from a jury was actually convicted for, you know what I mean, for jury misconduct same way. So Mr. Kartel, big achievement for you and your team today. How you feeling about that, sir?
Just there, chill out, you see me, up to the time, you know.
So Kartel, you as a very influential artist in Jamaica, how do you feel to know that society have you as one of the main violence producers in Jamaica? Society
at large always seem to try to lay the blame for social unrest in Jamaica and the artists and the musicians, you know what I mean, and the content of our lyrics.
Okay, I hear you. So tell me something, in your opinion, what do you believe is the main cause for crime and violence in Jamaica?
In truth and in fact, crime and violence in Jamaica all stem from the political culture of Jamaica, you know what I mean, and that political culture is so well known that it's not funny and people still don't see that. You know what I mean? Jamaica is a country we built off political warfare, gangs. You know what I mean? That is the root of it.
Okay, but the garrison politics thing cannot change up down in Jamaica. So how the crime rate still so high?
What they're getting, you know, is just the blossom of their own works.
So you as a person who grew up through the ghetto and understand the ghetto life, What do you think is the solution for the crime problem in Jamaica?
I think that the real thing to stop crime and violence, social unrest, is logical things, you know what I mean? Better living condition, more jobs, you know what I mean? Free education up until college, you know what I mean? And an overall policing of the authorities that we trust with our money, like the Bank of Jamaica, you know what I mean? Civil servants, yeah, things like that.
And you are basically saying that you or no other artists have any part to play in the crime problem, any at all?
Artists have no bearing on that. I think artists more alleviate crime and violence in Jamaica. You know what I mean? So society needs to check themselves.
Explain what you say artists help to alleviate crime in Jamaica.
Music is a joy, and music takes away a lot of problems from a person's mind, even for the few hours that he or she is at a dance or a stage show or listening to music on the radio. You know what I mean? So music is a pastime, and music is joy. Music is also economical, you know what I mean, means by a lot of people. People selling in dance, even the peanut man, the man who sell the weed, the man who sell the Rizla, you know what I mean? The man who sell the weed and the Rizla have kids going to school, you know what I mean? So everybody benefit from dancehall.
So tell me some artists, what you think about censorship? I mean, the government wants you to suppress your words and the ideas that you bring to life through your music.
As an artist and a writer, you know, we would have said fireborn censorship. You know what I mean? Because censorship for an artist is like intellectual slavery. Intellectual slavery. You know what I mean? So that's where vybz Kartel stands on that.
So how did you get your big break in the music industry? I am certain that it was not with violent music.
Well, breaking into the industry depends on which angle, because vybz Kartel was always an underground king in dancehall, like from late 90s, 1999, 2000, 2001. You know what I mean? Bounty Killer's introduction now really brought vybz Kartel commercial. You know what I mean? And then 2002 we got the big hit with Inamacall Kanai, New Millennium, featuring Wayne Marshall.
Okay, seeing. So tell me something, how you get the connection with Bounty Killer?
Originally I met Bounty Killer through my then manager, Rowan Butler. Yeah, because I wrote a song called Adibantan Rule the World, and I recorded it, and he heard it and said, yo, a Bounty Killer for DJ that song there. And I'm like, Bounty Killer. Or where I go find Bounty Killer? You know what I mean? And he just drove to Artivision Car Wash, introduced me to Killer, introduced himself to Killer also, you know what I mean? Gave him the demo. The next day, Bounty Killer see me is like, we knew each other like 20 years, you know what I mean? And from then the friendship just blossomed like a good jar of weed.
So artists, tell me something, because you have a different style and flavor to the music business. How did your style and attitude towards the music come about?
As I said now, in 2002, New Millennium, that song really explains vybz Kartel. You know what I mean? A New Millennium, a different thing I go on. vybz Kartel is an artist growing up, always listen to a lot of musical genres, you know what I mean? So we learn how to express ourselves on an international level. You know what I mean? We learn to adapt to other people's cultures, you know what I mean? Make our culture more easy to digest. You know what I mean? And we're just throwing a bit of intellect, a bit of gangster.
Who are the main artists that influence your decision to become an artist instead of becoming a school teacher?
No, well, locally you have to talk about, everybody listen Bob Marley, I know that king that for Jamaica, but locally vybz Kartel, Bob, you see me, Boris Gardner, you see me I say? Because my father always used to buy records, so I listen to a wide variety of records growing up. You know what I mean? Then in the late 80s now, like Ninja Man
get bad again.
Josie with
Sandy Gully gonna run red.
Charlie Chaplin.
Long life without sickness.
Super Cat. 90s, Buju Banton, Sizzler.
All of my people and all of my
Bounty Killer, Beanie Man.
So being as though you might free up now and thing. You have any plans on going to America soon?
Man, crazy. You know Brooklyn is vybz Kartel, home away from home. You know what I mean? Bounty Killer first introduced me to Brooklyn crowd, and you know what I mean? The rest is history. You don't know. Father to son, wanna drop on, drop on shoulder, so it go.
Oh, and another thing too. How did you get to link with Dan Carleone?
No, well, Dan Carleone is a youth that vybz Kartel always used to see in the studios, you know what I mean? As a sound man, selector. Yeah, for a sound system, Vendetta, and we met a couple times and we discussed that arrows that when he started producing, he was gonna, you know what I mean, produce a song with vybz Kartel.
Up to the time, you know it's done Corleone.
So what are your views about the exposure that reggae dancehall music is getting on the international scene from big media platforms like MTV and so on?
Well, depending on what a person seeks to gain out of the exposure, because where exposure is concerned, I think it's the greatest thing. You know what I mean? MTV is a major media station, you know what I mean? So that is a good look for reggae music. And for local artists in Jamaica who wouldn't otherwise have gotten that exposure, you know what I mean? Because a lot of artists tearing up Jamaica don't even have a US visa.
You know, one of your biggest songs, you know what I mean, what people really love, I mean, people with clean heart and good meditation, is a song titled Emergency. How did that song come about?
Well, the truth, because you know vybz Kartel is an artist, we just build songs of what we see around us. Roach, a good friend of mine and a road manager, the rhythm was his, and he came to me and said, yo DJ, you put a song on the rhythm, but I want a reality song, a social commentary. You know what I mean? A vybz Kartel just sit down and just took like 20 minutes and just wrote that song.
So tell me some artists, in your opinion, do you believe that the media, as also the fans, ignore positive and conscious music?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. You know what I mean? Because vybz Kartel always does a variety of music, because variety is the spice of life. You know what I mean? It's just what the people choose to bond with and what the people choose to listen. You know what I mean? Music is culture. We just express anything that we see in life, because you don't know, art is a reflection of life. You know what I mean? So whatever vybz Kartel feels to say, I'm going to say it in the name of music.
Anyway, peeps, thanks for watching. You can leave your opinion in the comment section. As also, you can like, share, subscribe. Peace.
It's 10 years for the accused, it's 4 years for us. We went to the Court of Appeal and lost in April of 20, I can't even remember, 4 years ago. 2020. And now we have been able to go to the Privy Council based on the reaction of the judges while the arguments were proceeding. We are confident that they were very upset about the jury point, that the judge allowed a juror who is allegedly trying to bribe the jury, allowed him to sit and continue to deliberate, that he sent them out 17 minutes to 4 after 64 days of trial. That was huge pressure on the jury. And the Director of Public Prosecution infused herself in his chambers and encouraged the judge to keep the juror who was allegedly bribing and to render a verdict with the bad apple. So this is a day for us to see whether it is right for a prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, to encourage a judge to keep a juror who has been bribing the others. So we're going to see what's going to happen today, whether justice will prevail, and there'll be a pronouncement on the wrongness of that. We're hoping that there will be no retrial, of course, that's one of the options, and we're hoping that they'll be free. If the men are free by the court today, what happens next? The registrar in the Court of Privy Council has been and continues to be in direct communication with the registrar in the Court of Appeal in Jamaica. So one would expect that an email will be sent to the registrar giving the decision of the court. Once the registrar of the Jamaican Court of Appeal gets that decision, she's duty bound to notify the penal institution almost in real time, and they are to be released if it is that the court says they are to be released. Now, you may want to know that if they remain tonight without being released, if the court finds them that the verdict of not guilty should be entered and they should be free, once you're kept beyond tonight, it's going to be a civil action for false imprisonment. The state must release the accused when there is a verdict of not guilty to be released. So that's our big goal.
And in the event that there's supposed that there's a retrial, is there? Very good question.
If a retrial is ordered, it immediately causes us to be able to go to the court to seek bail pending the retrial. I repeat, so if a retrial is ordered, we can go to the court to apply for bail pending the decision for the retrial, stage 1. If a retrial is ordered, we would ask for bail in the Court of Appeal pending the hearing of the retrial.
Campbell, Aditya Palmer, Kakira Jones and Andre Simpson were convicted of the murder of Clive Lizard Williams. The jury was reduced to 11 members after a jury was discharged almost 8 weeks into the trial. On the final day of the trial, it was brought to the judge's attention that a member of the jury, who will be referred to as Juror X, had attempted to bribe other members of the jury. The judge questioned the jury form. who stated that Juror X had offered bribes to each of the other jurors to acquit the offence. The judge asked counsel for the prosecution and the defence if the trial would continue. It would not have been possible only to discharge Juror X because under the Jury Act, a trial for murder cannot continue with fewer than 11 jurors. The judge decided to proceed with this summing up and gave direction to the jury, reminding them of their function. The jury retired to consider its verdict at 3:42 p.m. The jury returned at 6:08 p.m. and by a majority of 10 to 1 convicted all four appellants of the deceased's murder. A fifth defendant was unanimously acquitted. Juror X was immediately arrested and was later convicted of attempting to pervert the course of justice. There was no evidence to connect his activities with the appellants. The Judicial Committee of the Privy Council has unanimously concluded that the appeals should be allowed and the appellant's convictions should be quashed on the ground of juror misconduct, and that the case should be remitted to the Court of Appeal of Jamaica to decide whether to order a retrial of the appellants for the murder of Clyde Lewis. The board has considerable sympathy with the dilemma faced by the trial judge on the final day of a long and complex trial. Following the allegations of bribery, he had either to continue with the 11 remaining jurors or to discharge the jury. Despite this, the board considers that the approach taken by the judge was a material irregularity in the course of the trial, which makes it necessary to quash the convictions. This is for three reasons. First, the direction of the jury on the final day was inadequate to save the situation. The judge simply reminded the jury that they had sworn or affirmed that they would return verdicts in accordance with the evidence they had heard in court. The judge did not refer to the alleged bribery, of which, if the allegations were true, the jurors were already aware. Secondly, the trial continued with the allegedly corrupt jurors serving as one of its 11 members. In the board's view, there should have been no question of allowing Juror X to continue to serve on the jury. Allowing Juror X to remain on the jury is fatal to the safety of the convictions which followed. It was an infringement of the appellant's fundamental right to a fair hearing under the Jamaican Constitution. Thirdly, the judge should have considered whether the remaining jurors might have become consciously or unconsciously prejudiced for or against one or more of the appellants as a result of Juror X's behaviour. For example, there was a danger that the attempted bribe could have made the other jurors overcompensate, consciously or unconsciously, if they assumed that the offer must have come from one of the appellants and that therefore they must be guilty. The judge took no account of this risk.
Well, ultimately the appeal was allowed, which means that the convictions have been quashed. It isn't best case scenario because there will be a remittance to the Court of Appeal for consideration as to whether or not there should be a retrial. It's not what we wanted wholesomely, but we are grateful that justice was served in that the Privy Council found that there was injustice in respect of the jury tampering issue, and we are happy that that result, that was the result of the Court of Appeal. But we have a challenge ahead of us in respect of the retrial issue, and so that's why you're not seeing me jumping up and down at this time, though we are grateful that the conviction was quashed.
This conviction, which has been worldwide in its broadcast by media throughout the world, has been quashed. This is as a result of hard work. The reasons for quashing the case in the Privy Council, we argued those very grounds before the Court of Appeal of Jamaica, who turned us away. And therefore, the final Court of Appeal has vindicated and made the efforts that we have made, that we had an arguable case. We were alarmed when the Jamaican Court of Appeal did not take that jury point. And it took another court to say there was a breach of the constitutional rights of Sean Campbell. We are thinking that this is an instructive judgment. It ought not to have had to go to the Privy Council. It should have been stopped by the trial judge. If not, it should have been stopped by the Jamaican Court of Appeal. And therefore, the men who have been convicted for 10 years and one day today, the 14th of March, they will live again for a retrial consideration. Now, when we go to the Court of Appeal with this matter, the Court of Appeal has to decide whether it is fair after 10 years in prison, rather 12 years in prison, we'd have to get lawyers again before the case, with all the publicity that has been made about voice notes and all that has been circulated in the Jamaican population. Whether we can find 7 jurors, because it has been reduced since then, to hear this matter and come to a verdict. We will be fighting in the Court of Appeal to tell that court that in all the circumstances, it would not be in the interest of justice for Sean Campbell to be placed on a retrial.
And to be clear, the Privy Council hasn't said that there must be a retrial. The Privy Council is saying, let the Jamaican Court of Appeal decide whether or not there should be a retrial.
Right. So we are now into another trial. That is before the Court of Appeal. And therefore we'll be raising all the points. We're going back to the drawing board to make sure that justice is done in that court. Because what they would have gone through, and this would be the worst case scenario, trial, Court of Appeal, Privy Council, back to the Court of Appeal, and then the Court of Appeal orders a retrial. That doesn't seem to me like justice being delivered to the appellants in this matter. Thank you.
Question.
Yes?
What is the status of the jailed men as of now?
The status of the jailed men, the men in custody, and Sean Campbell in particular, our client, is that he's no longer a convict. His conviction has been set aside by the Privy Council. He's now waiting, and he now has the right to apply for bail because he's now awaiting the decision of a court whether he should go to trial or not. So no doubt, when they lawyer up, we will be going and knocking on the door as the first move is to try and obtain bail pending the hearing whether there should be a retrial or not.
They don't know what's up, Lisa, than we. I will call my phone today and tell me, say, them can't find the 2 new shoes them when me give them, dog. So them lock them in our house. Side of all feet to build up, dog. In a the whole house they lock 2 shoes and can't find no shoes, Virgin. And I come tell me, off me is dog. Yo, I just tell them, say, make sure I get my shoes by 8 o'clock in a bad man. Same thing as the rest of man, the boy, him take the thing them, dog, but the boy mama up the dog. Dash me, I make the man them dash away now, hombre. Boy, them I tell me, say, they can't find 2 of my shoes in the dog. I kill one of them, you know, I give them till 8 o'clock to get my shoes. As a dead man, that, you know. If them want them friends to live, them better get my shoes. Yeah, more time I leave a love follow up certain science thing in the dog. When you know, say a girl tell me, say she call a woman, and the woman can tell her instantly, say, ah, the boy will go country ready here. Move the shoes for sell them, move the shoes them for sell them in a dog. And most of me I made back and I say where the when I go country is a portion of man. It's a portion of man forward in a dog. So me even know which man bedging. And me I tell the dog, yo, now if you say nothing bad man, I done a free that already. But that's why them go back for my shoes. That's me can send them down from the Gaza dog. If them want them gonna make some one pop and make a year so them have one pop up, them will kill 2 of them. Should I never even reach as far as 3rd world neither. Because from day 1 minute them the dog got just to shotty that far around me, you know. And shotty bring ratty in the dog and see it may not back come to a big informer in the dog. So it should even reach this from day 1 dog. Dog, the man I tell me say I 2 them here, you know. And bandit I tell me say thing them me say from Saturday morning in a bad man. It's a little bird call me and tell me I'm a piece of them and them I tell me say I eat them a go about, you know. I say dog, gonna better find man thing for us, you know that. Cause me even yo, you know say one of the hombre them or them get the thing for lock. Me even know that the youth they no problem. Come like yesterday man come live boy, you know. So make sure tell the man them say but want my dog stole shoes by 8 o'clock and I go 2 of them dog. Hombre they know say come like a profit dog. You say something to me, say, you know, like up there, so because every little man just run in and them just accept them and them. They don't know some of the meds, dog, where you say, and one mind say, find out where the third man come from. Where them sell out the shoes, because I don't know him, I don't know if you to grow about it. You know, so I run the file problem child. The man them tell me, say, the hombre not even live there for 1 year, dog. And guess where they say the hombre come from? Walter, me no hombre. Walter, me no dog. That's me have to call this and we and diss them up and say, when I see a town craft, the man use pano. Because man left from bad place and come over here to come see so now some little giggy, laughy boy. And take the shoes, can I go give him friend them a town and come back, come sit down, go down and go on like him don't know the shoes missing up. And me tell them to tell the boy, they said, me not get back my shoes, him and him mama go dead in a bad man. Because like your mind read a virgin. Because I don't kill out myself, dog. I just call Sean up to this man and tell them, say, hombre, what about me things them? And make me get my money to buy back me things them. And only do what I do with whoever. Me just want to get back my thing and you respond to it. So I make sure I tell him that this morning they are wait for the priest them to link me back and make me know what them I do. Because them not saying about the thing come here, because them are getting me, dog. Yeah, but problem, Charlie, is them cut. Where them are cut go? That's the question, hombre. Them dead, man, them can't cut gun over, dog. You're mad. When they leave a cut chance, come I go buy it back. I got a problem, child. Me there put on a tattoo side. How you just see tattoo? You know, a bride of Chucky, man. Oh.